Good evening, Filipino poets and blossoms. I am so excited tonight because I am with the administrators of Trending Poets and the Poets Narrative. My great honor is to introduce our guests, uh, Miss Eva Marie Cagley and Dwayne Rankin from the USA, and we have from the UK the famous narrator, the man of the hour, Mr. Alan Johnson. Hello, guys. How are you? How are you, Eva?
Hey.
Hello,
Hi,
I'm
Helen.
good.
Hi,
Right,
Eva.
So it's my dream to have you here, and now my dream comes true. First, I'd like you to know that we are celebrating our first Filipino, no, first FPB International Poets, first FPB International uh, Friendship Festival. So it's our third night.
Oh,
Okay.
So
congratulations.
yeah, so I'm so happy, but this is different one because I am the one, the only one entertaining to you now. Because some of my friends here or the admins, they don't know you yet, so they might be not comfortable. Even me, because we are long time friends, but we're not talking so much, right? So first, I would like to ask Eva Marie because I am also a member of the Poets Narrative. What year did you create the group, Eva?
Well, actually, Alan created the group. I came aboard sometime after that. I'm not sure when, how long the narrative has been going on. Alan, do you know how long it's been going on?
I think it's relatively new, really. Maybe just a couple of years. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
about 2 years, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
before that was before the poet's narrative was the poet's attic,
I
and then
remember
before that,
that.
you do, and then we had
Yes.
poetry in motion. We had poetry in motion. So I'm only guilty of three of them: the poetry in motion, the poet's attic, and now, of course, the poet's narrative, which is also called Trending Poets as well.
Yeah,
It's,
same
it's a
same
nice,
people
small,
around.
elite group of writers and poets. We're a family of poets.
That's
We
true.
are lots of brothers and
We are.
sisters and in-laws and outlaws, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that sometimes we are lost because maybe we're busy with our things. We're not really consistent, or because I found out that Alan was no longer my friend. I thought he blocked me. What happened to that time, Alan, that you're not on Facebook?
No, I didn't block. If I did block, then I don't think I did. But I was going through a bad time, Helen, a bad time with my health, and I decided that Facebook wasn't for me, poetry wasn't for me, narrations wasn't, everything wasn't for me. I was really going through a bad time with my health. And so I was on a low, I was on a very low, in a very low place at the time. And
Yeah,
it's very difficult to be creative when you have that sort of thing going on in your life, really.
that's true. That's true.
I
So
think for me, a lot of times when I'm feeling my lowest is when I write some of my best poetry.
Well, yeah, that's where it's different for you.
Mhm.
Um,
It's an
and it
outlet.
works for you, and that doesn't sort of endorse that you should be on a low all the time to make good poetry. But
Right,
as you
right.
say, help. Often in our lives, we are inspired by situations within our lives, whether they be good or bad.
That's
And, you know,
we poets during our low time also. It's our time also to write down the our down emotion, our low emotions. We are so effective if we are on that stage.
yes, yes. Now you
I
see,
remember,
Helen,
Alan, you
yeah,
there was one time that in the world comes to you that you sometimes read or narrate a poem which is very sad, and then you said that you know there's beauty in sadness. I remember
there
that.
is,
Yeah.
there is beauty. There is beauty, as I said, there's beauty in good and bad, in sadness and in happiness. For poets, they write the words. For me, I use the keyboard, and I this is my vehicle. This is my instrument of emotion, if you wish.
Yeah,
Um,
you can release your emotions in that way.
yes. For me to have an argument with my wife, I'm better off coming in here and playing the piano. It's easier, so I can do that. But as Eva said, you know, when she had a low, she was writing incredibly creative poetry. And it's the same. It's the same for me, that I will write music, not necessarily music for
You
poetry, but
also
just music.
compose music, but
I
you're
write music.
yeah, but you told me that you are not a poet, but I know that you can write. There are times that you also posted your poems, right? You wrote.
Yeah,
Hi, Dwayne. How about you there?
but I can't do what Dwayne or Eva or other poets can do. You know, they can turn to poetry on a daily basis. I can't do that because it's
I
not
think,
there.
Yes.
Well,
I
there are
think we
some
all
days
have our own style.
I can't write.
Sorry?
There are some days I cannot write. If I'm feeling too low, I have to bring myself up a little bit before I can write.
Yeah.
And then after I write, I
That's-
feel better.
It depends upon the weather and our emotion.
Yeah.
Right? There are sometimes that we are very happy, sometimes we are very sad, sometimes we are so stressed with things. So sometimes me in myself, I write poetry when I am very stressed because I want to skip that feeling. I want to divert my attention to poetry. And it helps.
Yes, indeed, Helen. On a personal basis, for me, I'm here to support poetry and poets in the best way I can. Now that could be with music, with narration, and of course the world comes to you, the show.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've done the show because a lot of things has happened between that point and that point. But the next show will be, as far as I'm concerned, amazing because I have narrated a lot of poetry in the
Yes.
town.
I remember Susan Woral with you.
Yes, yes. I mean, Susan and I got on very well, and we do good as a team.
Yes.
And it's very possible that Susan will be here doing the World Comes to You show, the next one,
I
as
see.
well. So,
But she's still active right now. Is she still active?
when she's not drinking wine, she's always very active. Then, yes, she's quite.
I remember when she was constantly with you on the World Comes to You show. You were always with someone else. You were never did it alone. You had Susan there for quite a while.
Yes, yes. I mean, the show was every 2 weeks then, I think. Or I don't know what it was, every week, every 2 weeks. And I had more time then, but I have less and less time to put a show together. Plus, the show was only audio the last time, Dwayne.
Yes.
Now it's YouTube.
Only audio. I remember you interviewed Deborah Books Langford and also Susan Turner
Yes,
Stump. I remember that
yes. You
because
interviewed quite a few people.
sometimes I was mentioned in the interview.
Yes, indeed. Um, but I think you were interviewed as well, Helen, at one point.
I'm sorry,
I think
Alan.
did I interview you once?
No,
Oh, I thought I
but
did.
they only mentioned my name during the interview, and I am so honored of that.
Oh, that's good. But we did do a spotlight on you, on Helen Sarita. I think we did a spotlight
I
of.
love that, Alan. You know, I really
Yeah.
need your help. Even in this, platform, I always refer to you because I know that you have a lot of brilliant idea. And I am so glad that your heart loves to, support poets.
Mm,
I can
that's good.
feel
Thank you.
that.
It's good. I enjoy doing what I do when I can do it. But I do um, my life away from poetry and music it can be quite stressful because of family. And I don't tell people about that usually. I don't come on here and say,
But sometimes, is it okay to mention here that about your health, you're suffering, your like arthritis? Is that the right word
"Ooh,
there?
I have arthritis. I have it quite bad, but at the moment it seems to be okay. Um, but there have been lots of situations, and Eva and Dwayne know that I've been in terrible pain with,
Yes.
and because of that, I've not been able to do poetry or music, and I've had to take a back seat. This is going back to what we said earlier about me leaving Facebook, because I went through a bad stage of poor health, and it's difficult.
Yep.
And when you're not sleeping and when you're in pain, the last thing you want to be doing is playing the piano or narrating. You just want to get yourself better and present yourself to people like you in a better light, you know. And Eva knows more about this because I spoke to Eva in Messenger, telling her how I felt, how I was. And many times I asked if she would tell other people what was going on in my life, because I didn't have the patience to do it myself.
Mhm.
But I'm
Well,
back. I'm back now, and I'm creative. I'm happy to get on with things.
Yes,
Um,
you're so creative. You have like the woodcraft project. You remember that you create as out from wood a church. What was that about the garden? Things in the garden like that. Were you selling that? Were you selling that?
well, at first I wasn't. I was playing with wood because I like wood. Um, if there had been a woman and a piece of wood, I would have married the piece of wood. Quite simple. But I married Jean. So
probably would have carved a woman out of the wood.
there you go. We could have done that.
Yeah.
I like being creative. I think if you have a creative streak, you will do different things. Um, I
If
decided
you,
to make.
yeah. So that's so nice that each of one, each one of us has really a down moment in life. How about you, Dwayne? Do you remember? Can you share us what's your down moment also?
Um, there's been times in my life which I was pretty down on. Things like when my wife first left me. Um, I it was hard it was a struggle to get through days. At times, I had the kids raising them. I was working. It was during that time though when I wrote my poem "Beneath the Soft Blue Sky." Um, that was my go-to place to hide out and feel better. And that's what I wrote for. Things that would make me feel better.
That's great.
We have almost the same story, only different as story, but almost the same way of releasing our emotions.
Yes, it's
That's it.
That's a wonderful poem, that is, well, Dwayne. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
Beautiful. And I think I may have narrated that as well for you. I can't remember.
This poetry are,
You
Dwayne's poem.
narrated the Beneath the Soft Blue Sky. The first one you narrated of mine when I
Do you
joined
still
Pim.
remember the first one, the first poem that Alan narrated? Do you still
Yeah,
remember?
Beneath the Soft Blue Sky. And I was taken aback. I said, "Oh, I wrote a poem title," and I listened to it. I go, "I like that poem. Who wrote it?" And then, like you said, I realized, oh, that's my poem. And it was, he brought it to life. And it
Sometimes
made me feel so much better.
Helen, Dwayne, Eva,
Yes.
when I sometimes saw poetry on Facebook, and I would narrate it anyway, without asking anybody,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which is a bit naughty. It's very naughty, because that person could have said to me, "How dare you?" That's
Right.
copywritten.
I think back then in Pim, is when someone joined Pim, you narrated one of their poems as a way of welcoming us.
That's
Very
right.
nice. Yeah, that's it. It's very, you know why? When Alan finds that your poetry is fine, he will narrate that without you asking him to narrate.
Yeah.
If he likes the
Uh,
poem. So
in trending
yeah.
poets, we're doing different things. We're to
Yes.
give things back. We like to give things back as well as take.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, Alan. Because I have, maybe it's not as many as Eva's poems or Dwayne's poems that you narrated in mine, but for me, that's my treasure. I really keep that on Facebook. And there's one poem that we have collaborated that we have 2,000 something views.
Oh,
The
wow.
broken love. It's like that, the title. The one we collaborated. I collaborated with Daniel Franklin, and then we narrated that too.
Good.
It
Absolutely
has
good.
2,000 something views. So I feel really, honored to
And now, is that
collaborate with you.
on YouTube, Helen, or
Yes,
vandalism?
it's in YouTube.
YouTube, right? That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Vandalism is more for music, I think. Really.
How about that SoundCloud? What is that? Because you also narrated one, my brown butterfly, but it has no video, only sound.
Well, SoundCloud is just audio, nothing else. It is just
Yeah,
audio.
but it's really good also. I can still find it's there always, right? It will not be lost there. Once you put it there, it's always there. I can just search.
Right. Right.
Anyway, I want to ask Eva, because I am a member of the Poets Narrative, and what is it? Is it just a small group with few, it is just a small group with few members? Do you only choose who do you want to get in, or what is the advantage of a small group compared to to a big one?
Well, sometimes when you have a big group, it's just about numbers and you don't really get to know the people, or you don't get to appreciate them. You don't get the time to read all the poetry and try to make comments and enjoy them. And we've done some recruiting for the Poets Narrative of friends and people that we've known or seen their work on the internet and really liked it. Other people have requested to join. And for me, what I always do is check out their Facebook page, make sure that they are a writer, that I see some poetry there, so that I know that, you know, I'm not going to be just letting anybody in. And so we like the fact that we're a small group, we're more like a family. It works really well for us. And with Alan narrating, it's good to keep it to a smaller group because he's only one person and he has a lot on his
That's
hands
true.
already. Yeah.
That you are all familiar with each other, all the members know each other. Actually, it's not because I'm not comparing to the Filipino Poets and Blossoms. I created Filipino Poets and Blossoms just thinking of a small group only, that we are just like the poet's narrative, that we only share our poetry, but maybe because there are only a few here in the Philippines who gathered Filipino poets, it became bigger that I cannot control anymore. So I cannot kick them out, but instead, I have them to be exposed, to give their names. I'm just fortunate enough that there are few people who became a mentors. They're helping the young ones how to develop their skill of writing, and they're so happy. And though we are a big group,
That's really good.
we, you know, I feel their support, and I feel that I was able to help the new ones who are joining with us. So
Mhm.
it's still I feel it's there's something a mission a mission
Yeah.
that in my show on my shoulder to, I have to take care of the group so that it will
Right.
become not bigger, but
I've got to say this.
yes,
When
Dwayne.
when I first joined PIM, I was invited by someone who I knew from a internet site which did poetry. I called voicesnet.com, and I posted there for several years. They came over. They got on the PM and they invited me, and I did. But I had to actually be okayed. I had to put a poem forward so they could be read and see if I was, I guess, up to snuff. Um, it was John that did that, and I was accepted, and I thought, wow, that was great. Um, so it's some places, you know, you want to go in, you can go in, and you really don't have any way of knowing if they're any good or not. I had to prove myself before I could get into PM. And then when they had it, I immediately went over and applied there and got in. And then when Post Narrative started,
Dwayne post
I was
maybe
invited
because
in. Alan got it. Hmm.
You were froze up there for a minute, Dwayne.
your post because maybe of the unstable connection.
Yes. It's, I don't know if it's mine or what, but it's every once in a while it'll freeze and then it'll come back.
Mhm. Well, I wanted to talk a minute about the poetry that I picked out that we played today for the narration. I picked out two. I don't know if it's gonna be time to play two of them, but one of them was In God's Loving Hands that Alan did. It was a spiritual poem of mine. The other one was Coloring with Crayons. And what I like about writing poetry is I can go anywhere that I want to. I can go forward, I can go back in my past, I can go to a peaceful place, I can travel around the world if I want to.
Yes.
And I try to write in a versatile way so I'm not just stuck in one venue. You know, I like to write about nature, I like to write about spiritual stuff. I have love poetry. I currently have 5 poetry books published. And I'm working on getting different publications on e-zines and blogs right now on the internet. But when I write mostly first for myself. And if somebody else enjoys it, that's great. You know, I like to put smiles on people's faces and be comforting sometimes in some way. But when I write, I always have to write for myself first.
So our poetry actually is us. And there was an invitation of me or that I need to give tips how to write poetry. It's just like a speaking engagement. But you know what? I'm thinking of that. But for me, I ask myself, the good thing in writing poetry is just to flow your heart, what is inside in you. Because maybe we can use words that are even just a simple words, but it will touch people. It will inspire people. For
I
me,
agree.
yeah, that's very effective
Mm.
because words are powerful. So we can even unite through our poetry. That's why I'm doing this FPB International Poetry, International Friendship Week, because I start exposing to not only to create our own group, but we have to be exposed to international group for unity, for oneness, just like that. So we can imagine that how we started and how long would be the topic to discuss, because now we only have another just 10 minutes, so maybe we only need to discuss few things. It's very lacking for me because I, I love to to still, you know, talk with you. There are a lot of things in my mind that I have to ask, but the time doesn't allow me. So what do you think? What do you think? How to improve this?
I don't know. Like I said, we're all doing the same thing, poetry. Again, I know I'm doing it differently, but we are all rowing the same boat, you know, and we should all be helping. We should certainly be helping poets who are getting buried. When I say getting buried, there are poets out there who just don't get the airtime. They just don't get any recognition for what they do. And those are people that I look for, you know, and to
Yeah,
take
I
their
understand
poetry.
that.
And it's
That's
important
why
for me to,
we need to inspire, or what we call that. We
well,
need to
it is inspiring.
inspire.
You know, you asked Eva a question about how big the poet's narrative is or was. And yes, it is numbers. And I like to keep it small because we have a good small network of people who we know we can speak to on a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people on our page, on our site, that never speak to us, never post anything. So I don't know why they're there. I don't know why they joined. You know, so
That's true.
that happens everywhere. That happens on every single page. I mean, it's all right saying I've got 50,000 members, but you haven't. You have not 50,000 members. You haven't got 5,000 members. You're lucky to have 50,
That's true.
because
That's true.
That are
it's,
active.
you know, and I would
Not
rather talk to
unless,
5 people.
yeah, not
So it's a
unless if you have gimmick that there will be grouping to entertain, to embrace that such group, or we there's a strategy to maintain those people, because I cannot embrace that big figure, that big volume of people coming in. So that's why I don't even invite, but it's growing because of other people who wants to them their friends to get in.
you
But
see, Helen, for me, it's not quantity, it's quality. You know, quantity is just a number. It's the quality of people I know. Dwayne, Eva, Dennis Brown, who's with Passion of Poetry.
Yes.
Cassie Joe Blake.
Sarfraz.
Sarfraz, of course, who's just come out with his new book, who stabbed a pomegranate or something. I don't understand that title somehow, but I'm sure he'll explain. But there are so many.
We look for people to be supportive.
Yes.
Alan's
But-
always talking about supporting one another. We need to support each other.
Yes.
And I
It's
wish
really
I could do more, but
I gotta tell you something that happened to me. After I joined PIM and my poetry started getting out there, I had a 14-year-old kid who was in middle school, and I think in Texas, got a hold of me and said he has been told by the teachers that said they want everyone to find a poem and use it in a project for school. And he wanted to use one of my poems. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And then
That is
2 weeks
good.
later, I had a 14-year-old girl come up to me privately, a private message on Facebook, and she wanted to know how I wrote poems. She said she always wanted to write poems, but she didn't know how to do it. She wanted me to tell her how to do it. Of course, I can't tell you can't tell someone how to write poetry. I just
Right.
told her, write from your heart and write your own style.
Yeah.
And if you like,
Original.
they
Not
don't
copy
have to
to
rhyme,
other
but they
style.
should have a certain meter to it. And she thanked me, and I don't know where it went from there, but she sounded like she really was interested. And why she picked me to ask her why, I don't know, but it was I was honored by that.
That's brilliant.
That's
It really
cool.
is.
And it,
Helen, I did a poetry reading, a narration at a wedding last year.
Who wrote the
Um,
poem? Who wrote the poem?
I'm trying to think. I think it might have been, don't quote me, I could be wrong, could be Michael Gergich, I think. You know the name?
Yeah.
Michael Gergich, yeah. I think it was Michael, I think. But it's a recording I did here
Yeah.
and it was played at the wedding. Where they do a best man speech, and then of course they played this poem that this guy had written, and I had to narrate it and so forth. So I've done a wedding and I've done a funeral. I think the funerals are better.
which is easier to do, Alan? Is it the funeral or the wedding that's easier to do for you?
I think the funeral is more poignant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think the wedding is. I think a wedding is a happy situation, a wedding.
Yeah.
And
It's easier
poem,
for me to
Yeah.
write something that's somber and
yeah,
a
we're
little
gloomy,
bit
aren't
sad
we?
than
We're a gloomy bunch.
joyous,
really.
even though
Yeah. But this is the conversation that started everything off, that, emotion, you have to have emotion to be inspired by your creativity, whether that be writing poetry, playing music,
That's true.
chiseling a piece of wood, whatever. It doesn't matter. Emotion is the most important thing, good or bad,
Good or
sad
bad.
or happy. Yeah.
Intense emotion.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And I think, you need to, your viewers, Helen, will hopefully take something from that you can be inspired by anything, absolutely anything. And my dog, Willow, she inspires me quite a lot. And I take her for walks. And I know that some of my things have inspired Dwayne to write poetry about the countryside and my walks. So it's
You know,
nice when it.
poets need each other.
Yeah, we
It's
do
just
need each other.
yeah, we need to support each other because we cannot stand alone. If you're a poet and you know yourself that your work is good, but then no one reads it, right? So you cannot measure how it sounds to other people. So
Mm.
there should be a
One thing,
writer and there should
one
be a
thing,
reader.
yeah, that's one thing with the Trending Poets narrative is, as an administrator, I try to read every poem that's posted and leave some kind of a comment. Sometimes I don't get it done right away, but then I'll catch up on it. And that's a lot of reading,
So,
you know.
so it's only 1 minute. Do you want me to have another, or this is enough? Me, I can stay. How about you?
You can
Another,
make me a
sorry?
cup of tea. You can make me a cup of tea if you want.